By the way, I'm doing a join me today. I'm going to rock this join me call. So if you happen to be watching, I got a bunch of stuff rolling around my head. And Jasmine Lightborn came and did the Cincinnati Hotspot meeting. I'm going, Jasmine Lightborn's here. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, we knew that she was coming, but I mean, I don't know what business interest she has in the Cincinnati area, but wow, she was awesome. I mean, you heard Paul Minichino in her, you heard Justin Balick in her, you heard Jane Bean in her, James Hill. Her whole upline you heard inside her, and Andy Albright. She was like talking, and her story, the poor background she came from, and she was describing it. And I'm just going, then when she joined us, it was like her back was against the wall too. You hear the stories today, their backs were against the wall. And I'm going, man, sometimes you have to have your back against the wall, the proverbial back against the wall, to go out and do something great with your life. Sometimes people live in a lukewarm state. Kind of lukewarm. They're not passionate about anything. They have no drive, or they wake up, they're kind of a wandering generality. They're like a ship with no direction. They just kind of bob up and down on the sea with nowhere to go. And you ever kind of think about your life in those times in life when you like that, you're not happy. No matter how good things might quote unquote be. Let me unlock it. I'm sorry. Yay, unlock. That helps. Then you can see my tie-dye shirt. This is one of my favorite tie-dye shirts. And anyway, but you're bouncing around and, you're wondering, gosh, my income's good. My family's good. Things are good. But I'm not happy. You're wondering, I should be happy. I think I have everything I want. All the accoutrements or all the external things seem to be satisfied, but I'm just not happy. You're like wondering, why aren't I happy? That happened to me. I remember when I was younger, I was in my 20s. I got out of the academy, young, my whole life ahead of me. I thought, I had a bit of arrogance of youth, and that no one was smarter than me. I was pretty smart, and I thought, I was in the Air Force. I was a lieutenant in the Air Force, graduate of the Air Force Academy, one of the top institutions, and but I thought I had everything, but I wasn't happy. I was just like, what am I doing with my life, And that thing's kind of hit me every once in a while. And then you hear stories like Jasmine Lightborn. You got to hear her story, man. Just coming from the poverty she came from. It's amazing how she rose out of that environment to really be the valedictorian of her high school, which says something about her and her upbringing. But she didn't she kind of came from a hard situation. And when she found the Alliance, her back was against the wall. Debbie Ben, her back was against the wall. Pam Moore, she was homeless. Her back was against the wall. And, they were kind of at their last hope was the Alliance. And it changed their life because they're willing to do whatever it takes because her back was against the wall. And sometimes you have to get to that point where, I ain't got nothing. I got nothing else. Like Officer and Gentleman, it's so vivid in my mind where Luke Gossett Jr. is pouring water on what's his name, Mayo is his name, the aviation cadet. They're going through officer candidate school, and Richard Gere, and trying to get him to quit. All his buddies, they went on leave that weekend. They all took off because they had places to go. They had people to see, friends, family, whatever. He didn't have anywhere to go, so he kind of stayed there. And Lucas Stu was just hazing him and trying to get him to quit pouring water on him. And he's just saying, quit, quit. Why aren't you going to quit? And Mayo said, I can't quit because I have nowhere to go, nowhere else to go. It was either that OCS to become a Navy pilot or nothing. You know, Air Force Academy, we had 16,000 people, 16,000 candidates competed for 1,600 slots at the Air Force Academy. I was one of them, and I would happen to make it, you know, by the grace of God. And then we graduated with 750, so less than 50%. So half the people that went there, more than half quit, or got kicked out on honor code violations, or failed out because of grades, or for whatever reason, they were no longer there. And I never looked at that prospect of quitting or getting kicked out because I had nowhere else to go. I was number 2 in my high school, but my alternative was to go to Loney Junior College. I had nowhere else to go, so I never thought about quitting. People say, well, you know, surely you've thought about quitting. Dude, at the academy, I never thought about quitting because it was the only place number one, it's the only place I applied. I didn't apply to any other college, any other service academy. It was the only place I applied. I don't know why I thought I could get in, but you know, by the grace of God, I got in. You know, after I got in, I was thinking, oh my gosh, I didn't know that the numbers were so, not that it was easy, but I got to appreciate it much better later. But I never thought about quitting because I didn't have anywhere else to go. I got into the Alliance because I was broke, busted, disgusted, sick of working, and broke beyond belief, you know, paying credit card monthly bills with credit card checks. I don't know if anyone's ever done that. And when I found the Alliance, you know, when Andy Albright found me, actually, that's how it went down. When Andy found me, it was like, it was a godsend. It was an answer to prayer because I was praying. And my back was against the wall because I had nothing else. You know, I had an Amway business that was kind of working, but not really. You know, we were making some extra money there. I had a job making about $150,000 a year. But you know how it is. You know, the more you make, the more broke you are. I was one of those kind of people. You know, had a master's in economics, Air Force Academy grad, but I had nothing. I mean, it got me, I learned how to be broke because my mind was not right about money. So when I found the Alliance, I had nothing, you know, I had nowhere else to go. My back was against the wall. In my mind, my back was against the wall. I didn't have anything else I was doing to create a future for my family. My job wasn't getting me there. I needed to make more money. I needed so much more. And, you know, Andy was an answer to prayers. So I said yes. And I built this thing, man. I wanted to build, I wanted to sell, I wanted to do everything you could do to make money with this thing. And did I ever thought about quitting? I had tough times. You know, when it came right down to it, when I thought about it, it's like, well, what else am I going to do? Right? What else am I going to do? And I'm really kind of an emotional guy. I'm an emotional guy. And, you know, those emotional times when you think about quitting, it can get real, like, you know, that's why it's hard to make emotional decisions. It's hard to make decisions when you're emotional, I should say. You know, it's always like, if you're going to make a decision to quit, quit when you're feeling good. Never quit when you're feeling bad. All right? That's sort of the rule, okay? And if you're a husband and wife, what I love about husband and wife being together in this business is that normally one's up and the other one it can keep the other one in the business. And when that person's down, the other person can keep the other person in the business. Jeannie was always that way for me. Well, Jeannie, actually, she was always up. She was always positive. So whenever I felt kind of, you know, didn't feel good, she always made me feel like, yeah, absolutely, I can do this thing. So anyway, I'm going to talk about what will sustain you through this business. I thought a lot about it. Jasmine Lightborn had me come up, and I was actually surprised. I mean, wasn't expecting to do any teaching. And one of the questions she asked people for questions. She goes, they asked her what her why is. What is her why? Or what was her why when she got in, and whatever. And so when she got to that question, she wanted me to come up talk about it. And I was like, why? You're like, why are you having me talk about it? I want to hear yours. And she said that she heard me teaching it or talking about it to someone else. And sometimes you just don't know who's listening. And so I was like, wow, okay. So now remember, like last week, I think it was last week, I talked about, or a couple weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, talking about knowing what the heck you want. Okay, heck, Heck. It could be he double hockey sticks, but I said, what the heck? Know what the heck you want, you know. And this is another way of saying it, like, what is your why? So she wanted me to talk about how, you know, what was my why, or how to develop. She wanted me to talk about how to develop your why. And you might think, well, everyone should know why they're doing something. And actually, that's not true. A lot of people don't know why they're doing anything. Like if you go up to an accountant and you ask them, why are you an accountant? I bet you half of them will say, well, I thought it'd be a good career when I got in school, so I studied accounting. And then when I got a job, it was paying pretty good. I don't particularly like it, but it was paying the bills at the time. And I've been in it so long, I just really can't do anything else. And my retirement's all tied up into the accounting firm. So, I mean, I'm doing it because it's all I can do. It's like, ooh, that gets me out of bed. Because, yeah, you know, there's definitely things you have to do. But what is, like, how do you figure out why you exist on this earth? Why am I here? What drives me? And I look at it kind of another way. The other way I look at it is I look at it in terms of what are you doing? Like your why and who you are and why you exist is a reflection. What you're doing is a reflection of that. What you do is a reflection of your why, what drives you. You know, it characterizes who you are. What you do characterizes who you are, because you're only, the results of who you are is in what you do. Everything you do is a reflection of that, right? It's kind of like this. If someone followed you around, kind of the hidden camera, right? The fly on the wall, and they watched you go through your day when you wake up to when you go to bed, can you be convicted based on the evidence of being congruent in what you do with what you think your why is? When you look at your calendar and what you do every day, does it reflect what you think you're on this earth for? What motivates you? Does it reflect that? And so I think you're a product. It's kind of like you are what you eat. You ever hear that? You are what you eat. Well, kind of with this is you are what you do. You know what I mean? And so, and here's another analogy is like, and I've heard this one. If someone followed you through the day, could they convict you of being Christian if you profess the Christian faith? Would they say that you lived your life the way Jesus would want you to live your life? If you're Christian, if you're Buddhist, if they watched you, would they say that your actions and the way you live your life reflect your philosophy of how you live your life according to Buddha? You know, I mean, you can take all kinds of analogies. I happen to be Christian, so, you know, am I living my life the way Christ would want me to live my life? As by his example, right? Giving his life for the people that he loved. You know, am I giving my life for the people that I love? Am I giving myself away, or am I thinking of myself? You know, those kinds of things. If people watched me, what I did through the day, are they going to see me being convicted of being Christian? So that's the whole thing. So when you're trying to figure out why, your why, I think you got to look at your calendar and you got to look at what you do every day. To me, that tells me who you are. What you do tells me who you are. Now, if you're like going, oh, geez, that don't match up. It doesn't match up. Well, if you want to look at the source of frustration and dissatisfaction and frustration in your life, it's usually because the incongruency of who you think you are and what you're doing. It's that they don't meet each other in the middle. Who you think you are and what you do that reflects who you are, it kind of goes like this: two ships passing in the night. And when that happens, you're not happy. You're frustrated. You don't know why, but you are, because you think you're this person, but your actions are something else. Okay? And so I think part of this whole deal is trying to figure that out. Figure out what's important to you. That's the problem sometimes. The source of unhappiness is you're doing what's not important to you. Your actions are not reflecting the things that you find important in your life. Because I think if you do what's important to you, you become happy because you're fulfilled. Okay? So, I know we're getting a little bit deep here, but man, it's been noodling on my head since last night with Jasmine Likemore. My head's just been filled. I went to bed thinking about this. I woke up thinking about it. And I was in church this morning praying about it. And then it just kind of like all these things started firing at my head. And so I got to get it out before I lose it all or before my head explodes. Okay. So I apologize if it's a little deep, but this is just kind of a fruit of thinking about all this stuff. So you got to figure out what is important to me. Well, Alex, that should be easy. When I think about what's important to me, okay, well, let's go through an exercise, okay? So here's one of the best exercises of figuring out what's important to you, because until you figure out what's important to you, you can't figure out your why you exist. It comes from what is important in my life. Because what is important to you kind of reflects your values, the things that you care about. So let's talk about your values and what you care about. Yours are going to be different than mine. Ours may align, it may not, but let's just kind of throw this exercise out there. And I got this exercise from one of the best books in the world called Off Balance by Matthew Kelly. It is truly one of the best books I've ever read on balance, on how chasing balance is chasing a ghost. It doesn't exist really. And that book, you got to read that book. There's so many good nuggets on how to live your life seeking fulfillment. The other thing about that book that rocks is that if you want to play with the big boys and be in the upper echelon of world-class performers, you can't think of anything you do as a 40-hour-a-week job, because to get into that room, it's everything. You have to give everything, right? And when you think about it, what is it important to you where you're willing to give everything you've got? Because to me, that's when you are ultimately fulfilled, when you find an endeavor that defines who you are and that you can pour yourself into 100%, and then you're happy. Because one thing I've learned in my life is whenever I try to chase happiness for happiness' sake, it was always fleeting. I could never catch it, because when I thought I had it, I wasn't. Like that new car that I got. After I got that car, it's like, I thought it was going to be better. I thought, wow, this is cool, but now it's not cool anymore. I'm used to it. And it's just like, what else do I want to buy? I thought acquiring things would give me happiness, or doing things that would make me feel good would find happiness, but it was always fleeting. It was enjoyable for a moment, and then it would go away. And I could never find happiness by chasing it. But what I ended up finding was I found that I was satisfied and fulfilled when I was chasing something that defined who I am and what I cared about. And then I was happy because I was fulfilled. And that book talks all about that. Matthew Kelly's book, Off Balance. So this exercise comes out of there, and this is a great exercise. It was a great exercise to go through it, and I suggest you go through it and several times a year, just to kind of figure out if you're on track with what you value and what's important to you. So, a lot of people kind of throw around, their priorities. Like, I love my family. I'll do anything for my family. People just kind of say that, but are you really, really willing to do anything for your family? Or do you value something more than your family? Well, no, I don't value anything more than your family. But if they really think about it, or, I love socializing with my friends. My friends are everything. Are they really everything? Have you ever thought about that? Are they really everything? You know, oh no, I'm all about making money, man. I'm all about money. You know, I got my mind on my money on my mind. A 90s hip hop song, right? Is really that's all you're about, huh? That's what you really, you know. So let's go through it, man. Let's figure out what is important to you. So the exercise works like this. Pretty cool. Okay. So if you think about, well, what's important to me? Write down the categories of things in your life that are important. You know, people might go, you know, my finances are important. It's important for you to make money. So my finances. Finances could include retirement. It could be, you know, having a debt-free life. It could be just a bunch of things, but getting your finances on track. That could be something very important for you. You know, maybe it's your job that contributes to that. So it's kind of a general category. Some people, again, let's put family. You know, that could be wife. If you kids, if you don't have kids, maybe it's your spouse. You know, maybe it's your mom and dad. It's the people that, you know, are the closest to you. How about friends? You know, socializing with friends. Okay. Let's say exercise. You like working out. You know, that's important to you. You know, that could be nutrition, health, whatever. Maybe you have a spiritual life. So let's just put spiritual life under God. You know, just concept of God. Maybe you're involved in a business work. Okay, work's important to you. You got to work. Maybe you're involved in a business, like our business, some kind of business on the side or whatever that is important to you. Finances, family, friends, exercise, God, work, business. I mean, you can put a bunch of other things on here. You know, just kind of brainstorm areas that are important to you. Okay. So let's put social. Maybe you like video games. Okay. You love playing video games. Okay. Maybe you like you're a golfer, so you love to play golf. You know, just some hobbies that are important to you. Maybe you like woodworking or whatever. So, you know, just brainstorm stuff that you like to do that are things that are important, things that, you know, like you spend your time doing. Okay. So once you kind of brainstorm this list of the things that are important, you know, seemingly important to you, or things that you like to do, okay, let's start ranking them. So what I mean by ranking them? Well, what it is doing kind of an A-B test. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to compare one against the other. And then you're going to figure out what's important. And the best way to do it is doing kind of like a tournament. It's the tournament of your priorities. Okay, it's kind of a round-robin tournament. So everyone plays against each other once. And we're going to see who wins, okay? It's kind of like the optometrist A-B test. So when I wear glasses. So those of you who wear glasses, it's like when the optometrist flips the thing, is A look better or B look better? A, B. And I say B. Okay. They click the thing, click, click. They go, okay, here's A and here's B. Which looks better, A or B? Okay, we're going to do the same thing here. So what you're going to do is you're going to start with, you know, just, it doesn't matter what order. Well, just do it in the order that you wrote it down. Okay, so the contest is finances against all the other ones. So you're going to see, is finances more important than family? So you go take the first one and the second one. Finances more important than family. No, my family's more important. I'm not saying, you know, I'm just going to say this is the proverbial or a hypothetical person. I'll say it's me, but let's say family's more important. So you put a check mark in this competition between finances and family. Then you take finances, take the next one under family. Are finances more important than friends and my social life? No, my finances are more important, so I'm going to put a check mark next to finances. Then you're going to compare finances with exercise. Which is more important, finances or exercise? It's like, no, you know, I really want to be financially viable. Okay, so let's compare finances with God. Is finances more important than God? You know, my worship life. It's like, nah, I don't think so. God is the one that gives me the ability to earn finances, so I'm going to pick God over finances. You hear that? Okay. Now, finances against work. Finances and work. Well, you got to work to make your finances, and so work contributes to it, and you don't want to do anything to mess your work up. So let's just say work, because it contributes to finances, work is more important if you're going to do the competition there. Now you take finances and business. my business. Let's say I have a multi-level marketing business or a business on the side where I build guitars for people or whatever. Are my finances more important than business? Well, my finances are more important. Okay. Now you take the next one. Finance is more important than video games. Absolutely. Finance is more important than golf. Yes. Okay. So now that you're done with finances, let's kind of put an X next to finances. Then we take the next one down on the list and we look at family. Now you take family and do your round robin tournament with family. So is family more important than friends and social? Absolutely. Is family more important than exercise? Well, yeah. I mean, I value my time with my family and my children more than exercise. Is family more important than God? Well, no. Okay, is family more important than work? Yeah. Is family more important than my business? Yes, my family's really important. Family more important than video games? Absolutely. Is family more important than golf? Absolutely. Okay. Now we take the next thing on the list, and friends and social. So is friends and social more important than exercise? Now I value my health, so exercise is more important. Is friends and social life more important than God? No, God's more important. Is friends more important than work? No, work's more important. Are friends and social life more important than business? I really like my business more. Are friends and social life more important than video games? Okay, my friends are more important than video games. Actually, it could be a way of socializing too. Are friends more and social more important than golf? I love golf. Okay, I'm passionate about golf, and I'd rather play golf than hang out with my friends. Okay, that could be you. You could be obsessive compulsive about golf. So, okay, we took our friends and family. We took care of family. We took care of friends. So now exercise. So which one's more important, exercise or God? God's more important. How about exercise against work? Work's important. Exercise against business. I like to be healthy, so that's more important than my business. Exercise is more important than video games. Yeah. Okay. Exercise is more important than golf. I love golf. Okay. Now you got rid of exercise. Now God. Is God more important than work? Yes. Is God more important than business? Yes. Is God more important than video games? Yes. Is God more important than golf? Absolutely. Okay, now you take we got God done. Okay, work. So is work more important than business? Yes, that's my primary income. Is work more important than video games? Yes. Is work more important than golf? Yes. Okay, we got work done. Now business. Is my business more important than video games? Yes. Is my business more important than golf? Man, I love golf. Okay. Now, we got business done. Now, is video games more important than golf? I love golf. Okay. Now notice what you did was the things that are important to you, in effect, you rank them by the number of check marks. So if you want to find out what's important to you, okay, you count the number of check marks. So you look at, say, friends and family, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. God is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So God is number 1 in your priority. So the next one, friends and family 7, what's work? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So family is number 2. All right. You got work. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Finances 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So work is number 3. Okay. It looks like finances would be number 4. Then what do we got? Friends and family, exercise, golf. Okay. I value golf. Golf is number 5. And then between video games, business, exercise, and friends, it looks like exercise is number 6 because it's got 3. Business is 7. Friends are 8. Okay. And video games is 9 because it's got 0 check marks. Okay. So here's what I would do. I would reorder everything. Okay. As number 1, God. Number 2, family. Number 3, work. Number 4, finances. Number 5, golf. Number 6, exercise. Number 7, a little hobby business. Number 8, friends. And number 9, video games. All right? So this is your priority. And sometimes when you go through this exercise, what you're going to discover is you're going to discover, wow, does my calendar reflect my priorities in my life? Does my schedule show that I put God in there first? Or do I fit God in there whenever I have time or availability? Does my schedule show that I spend a lot of time doing video games? Okay, I mean, what does your... See, because that's what happens. When this does not equal your calendar, how you live your life, then that incongruency right here is what kills you. It causes frustration. Because this is what your value system really is, but what you're doing is not reflecting what you care about, what you believe in. Right? And so this is like not good. All right? So, how do you translate this in what you do? Well, what you do is a reflection of what you believe in and what you value. So let's take a look. Put your calendar together so it reflects what you do. In other words, assign priority in your time with the things that you care about the most. And this is where you have to mentally give up your decision-making in your life to a calendar. When you put on the calendar, you will do it. And I learned to work on a calendar a long time ago. When I put it on the calendar, it's going to be done. In fact, my to-do list is my calendar. Well, what do you mean, Alex? Anything that I have to do, I schedule it. That's the only way I've been able to work my life. Because what I want to do is I wanted to wake up and have my calendar dictate my life, what I was going to do. And I put my calendar together based on what I care about. See how it works? This flows into my calendar. So anything I do that I got to get done, I schedule it in. Because if you ever, it's kind of the round to it. You ever hear about the round to it? Round to it. The round to it. See, the round to it is whenever I get around to it is when I'm going to do it. Yeah, I'd love to get that vacation to Disney World with the kids. We'll do it when we have the money. You ever hear that? We'll do it when we have the money. That's just like telling your kids, we'll never do it. I'll do it when I can get around to it. Round to it never happens, because round to it never, this means it'll never happen. This isn't a code word for never happens. Round to it, whenever I get around to it. When you start hearing yourself say that, or when we have the money, we'll do this. You're like, bro, you ain't getting it. I'm sorry to say. So live your life on purpose by your calendar. Be a slave to your calendar, and I promise you, you can schedule your life for success and fulfillment if you are a slave to your calendar. What you put in your calendar, you will do, no matter what. So how do you put your calendar together? You translate what you care about into your calendar. So this is not going to be a detailed discussion on calendar planning. It's going to be a top level, because I have a video that goes deep into it with spreadsheets that you can use, okay? Just look it up on YouTube. I have that. But in general, what you do is your calendar, like I said, reflects who you are. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. This is my life. When I get up in the morning at 6, let's say 6 a.m., I go to bed. I'm just going to put midnight. I'm more like 3 in the morning kind of guy, but 12 a.m. And then, I kind of look at my day as 3 sections. 6 to 9, 9 to 5, then 5 to midnight. I split my day into kind of 3 sections. And in other words, I kind of look at this is a day, this is a day. So I like to live 3 days in one day. So what you do is I kind of look at these blocks as a day each. So I've got 3 times 7, that's 21 days in a week. Like, isn't that cool to live your life mentally thinking about 21 days in a week? That's kind of how I look at it. So what you do is you put God in your calendar first because it's the one thing you care about. I'm not saying that you do, it's not related to time. So it's like when you look at the end of the week and how much time you spent, God doesn't have to be the number one number of hours. In fact, if you're like on 5 Bible studies and you volunteer in the soup kitchen every day and you're at church like 3 times a week, for 5 hours, there's a little bit of a point where you actually got to live your life doing what you're supposed to be doing out in the world, okay? Instead of being, you ever hear that, so heavenly minded that you're no earthly good. God put us on earth to be with people. Now, there's certain people that are meant to be contemplative monks and sisters, and they have orders that people are called to that life. The contemplative orders, where all they do is pray and they worship and they pray for other people. That's their life, okay? But if you're not called to that life, you're called to a life of being out in the world. So let's kind of put God in your calendar first. So, let's say you do morning prayer. So you put morning prayer in, and then you do evening prayer, okay? And I go to morning mass, so I put morning mass. I'll just throw that in there. Then I do a prayer at noon, anyway. So that's just me. And then I have Sunday morning service, praise and worship. So I do 2 services. I play guitar in, and and then I mark out God time. So that's my God time. Okay. Then I look at family time. So this is where I schedule my family time. So my family time, let's say, actually, let me go back to when I was building this business. So my family time would be Sunday nights, okay, and so that was it. And then I'd maybe have date night with my wife, okay, or take the kids out or do something, attend volleyball match with my son's volleyball on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I'd mark out time. And yes, you can mark out Saturday, at you've got a dance recital for your daughters. Okay, you can actually put that in there. But what you're doing with your wife and your loved ones is you're showing them how what you care about goes into your calendar. You're showing your wife that you love her. You're showing your kids that you love them. You honor them by putting your calendar. You put your God time in there because you're honoring God. Okay, work, you got to work. You don't work, you don't eat. So let's say you're working a job. Well, you got your job time here. This is all job. So those of you that are like part-time with us, okay, finances are important. So let's just say I'm going to kind of cheat here, and we're going to put NAA here, the Alliance, because that's your business, your finances, and then we'll just put something else in here, whatever. In fact, let me tell you this, that you really need to be focused on only the top stuff. You got to narrow that list down to the things that will have the most impact in your life, okay? Because that's the ones you need to be focused on a majority of your time. Everything else is just nice to do once in a while, but they're the things you want to focus your life on because they're the most impactful things to you. They'll make the most difference in your life. So here, so you got God, family, okay, so you got your work. So now, what am I going to fit my NA business? Well, it's so important to me to get free from my job, and so important to me to write insurance, and so important to me to develop residual income so I can get free from my job, that everything else that you see in white, okay, is my business. So I'm at work, but I still put in the TWC because I'm going to listen to it on my headset while I'm at work. Whatever, that's just me. I'm going to do that. I'm going to listen to it while I'm working. Okay, so that's a TWC. Okay, and then I'm going to sneak in another conference call. I'm going to have it in my headset because I got an agency call I need to plug in at 10 a.m. So that's a conference call. I've got an activity call. I'm going to put that on my headset. This is an activity. Now, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can listen to it after the fact. You can get MP3s. If you're on President's Club, you're going to get those MP3s sent to you on CD. You got the product call at 1 o'clock. Okay, right? So, I put those things in because those are the big rocks in my schedule. You're going to hear that analogy about the big rocks, the most important things. It's kind of like the jar. I don't know if you ever heard this analogy, but if you're trying to fill this jar the most, and you have a choice of rocks, big rocks, little pebbles, and then sand, and then water. The problem is if you put the water in first, it's going to be already full. If you put the rocks in after the water's going to spill out. So you really haven't filled it up. If you want to maximize, you want to put the big rocks in first. And that's about all that can fit in there. And then you fill it in with pebbles. So the pebbles will fill in a lot of the space. Okay, but it's still not totally full. Okay, and then you put sand in there, and sand will fill in all these little spaces. Okay, but remember, sand is just like all these little fine particles, but even between the particles there's space, there's air. And then you put water in. And when you put water in, you put all this stuff in there. Okay? So now you've achieved this whole thing is full because you've got the big rocks, the pebbles, the sand, and water. So it's totally full. Now that you've maximized the capacity of what you could put in it by putting big rocks in first. So the most important things, the big rocks are God, family, I'm working a job, and then the NAA stuff that I'm doing. And then, again, all the white stuff is where I could, make dials. So I can dial Thursday, okay, and dial in the morning before I go to work. And then I can run appointments. Remember, I got that 2 hours for my daughter's dance recital, but I can run appointments. Then I can make some dials here, before I run my appointments on Saturday morning to run Sunday appointments. On the afternoon, remember, that's family time after 5. So I can run 3 appointments after I get off from church, right, and run appointments. And then I can recruit, and then I got the hotspot meeting on Wednesday, all right, or wherever your hotspot is. Do you see how now my calendar is all filled up? But Alex, I love to work out. Okay, like if the workout's number 5, guess what? Why don't you work out early, like after you pray, and then you just work out early in the morning. So you can fit those things in, okay, when you can. Maybe you have a graduation party to go to, so you're going to have to adjust your calendar. This you should do every Sunday night before you start Monday with your wife or your spouse. They know when to expect you, when not to expect you. They know that if you're dialing the phone, when you're supposed to dial, they can't bother you with, oh, honey, can you go to the store and get me? No, you're working. You're working for your family. They know it, you know it. And they know what your priorities are because they know that they're going to have you. You're going to be at the volleyball game anyway. They have you. You're dating your wife on Friday night. See, they already know how you're honoring them in your life, okay, on your calendar. So they're not going to give you any flack because they know that they're part of why you're doing this, right? So that's how you translate what's important into your calendar. And the beautiful thing about doing your calendar is you turn it into a habit, okay? A habit. In other words, you get into the habit of running your life according to what you care about, then you're going to be fulfilled and happy. The other thing is this is a calendar for success because when you start incorporating 250 dials in the business, 15 appointments a week, and you're recruiting, 3 people a week, 3 contracted agents a week are getting your business for 12 a month, you're double-digit recruiting, and you do that week after week, month after month, year after year, there's nothing stopping you from being successful. Jasmine said this one thing to me that she heard from Andy. It was so profound because when she got in this business, her first 6 months, she wasn't very good. And she really didn't do a whole lot because she couldn't plug into the hotspots. But the last 6 months of that year, it occurred to her that she could win the trip, the cruise, the Greek cruise. And she earned that trip, I think it's like $100,000 in 6 months. And she went ballistic because she believed she could do it. And she focused her calendar on doing 20 appointments. I think it was like 20 to 30 appointments a week. And everything she did was focus on getting that trip, because she heard from Andy that if you work just to pay your bills, you'll never get the trip. But if you work to get the trip, not only are you going to get the trip, but you're going to pay your bills. A lot of times you just work to pay your bills, you're not even going to get that because you set your sights so low. Like let's say just to make your nut, if you're only shooting and targeting that line right there, a lot of times you're going to fall short and you're going to have this gap. And this gap is what kills you. This gap is what makes you think this business doesn't work. The problem is you didn't work it right. Because if you're just trying to pay your bills, but instead, why don't you go for making the trip? And if you work for making the trip, not only will you pay your bills, but you're going to have all this extra money to reinvest in your business, to build, recruit, go do hotspot meetings and run them and inspire people. Do you see how that works? When you're shooting for something bigger than just paying your bills, you're going to not only pay your bills, but you're going to get something so much more. That's the whole thing with this. When you shoot for something bigger in your life that's more important, you're going to get everything you wanted because you set yourself up into the schedule habit. That's what this turns into. So whether you're having a good day or a bad day, if you know that if you just keep working your calendar and being a slave to the calendar by putting all the right things in, that you're going to get all the things you ever wanted. But Alex, I need a why. I need a why. You figured out your why here because this is what's important to you. Let me tell you what you need the why for. Okay, the why is not different than this. I call it the why. It's called the why that makes you cry. The why that makes you cry. The why that makes you cry. And this was noodling in my head, in my subconscious while I was sleeping. I woke up and I thought about this. And this is why you need the why that makes you cry. Because we're all emotional human beings. When you can put your life into a habit mode of success by managing your calendar, your life will take off in a trajectory. But that's not to say it's not going to be hard, because being successful in life involves stuff getting hard, stuff getting, and there's stuff out of your control that's going to try to bring you down and get your mind wrong. The why that makes you cry is what will get your mind right. It will save you, it will sustain you when things get tough. Because when you're operating your calendar, that the why that makes you cry, it's in the back of your mind, but you don't need to access that emotion that the why that makes you cry gets until you're confronted with something that you need the why that makes you cry to get you out of depression. Like if you went 0 for 17 this week, which Jasmine said she went 0 for 17. One week she went 0 for 6. She thought, man, I've got 17 appointments. She went 0 for 17. She calls Jane, she calls her upline, everyone in her upline, and she just needed to talk it through. And then she had to remember the why that makes her cry. And that was her family. And her why was like kind of that she didn't want to ever go back to being poor. See, those things are important to think about when you're confronted with the tough stuff in your life that makes you want to quit. The moment you think about quitting, you've got to tap into the why that makes you cry, because when you're emotional, you got to get the thing back that got you going, right? That got you in this thing, that motivates you when you're feeling terrible, okay? And there's two things that can attack you. You can be attacked by stuff out of your control that happens to you. And what will help you react positive is thinking about the why that makes you cry. So that's one thing. The second thing that can happen to you is laziness. I'm just tired. One day won't make a difference, right? One day won't make a difference. I'll just take a break. I'll take a break today. Now, it's okay to take breaks. Trust me. You can work in breaks in here where you just want to chill. Do you know that if you manage your calendar, if you want Alex time, your time, you know what? I'm going to take that time from 10 to midnight. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch ESPN. I've got it recorded, Mike and Mike in the morning, whatever. I'm going to watch it Saturday night from 10 to midnight. That's when I'm going to do that. I just need my time. Okay, I need my time for me. Guess what? With a calendar discipline like this, you can work that in. It doesn't matter. But when you start feeling the laziness and complacency will kill you. And that's, again, where you got to tap into the why that makes you cry. Maybe your why is paying for your kids' college so they never have to be in debt, making sure that I don't care what school they go to, I can afford 50 grand a year if they want to go to Duke. Okay, if they can get into Duke, but I'm going to pay it all cash money. I'm not going to let my kids graduate with loans. How can you do that to your children? Seriously, how can you do that to your kids? Saddle them with loans to go through school, and they're not even guaranteed a job. So what you did is you put your kids in debt. What you did, you transferred your debt mentality in your children because you got them through school. Now they got $30,000, $40,000 in debt that you can't wipe it out with a bankruptcy. You can't wipe it out with nothing. In fact, they probably can't get to heaven without paying that student loan off first. How can you do that to your children? Maybe that's the why that makes you cry. You're convicted that will never happen. I'd rather live in a $150,000 home and have my kids graduate from any school they want to debt-free than living in $1 million home, right, and then making them get loans. What kind of decision is that, man? I think you need to revisit what you find important in your life. Now, I'm trying to convict you about what you should find important. I'm just talking about me, what's important for me. Maybe the why that makes you cry is taking your mother to a trip of a lifetime. Maybe she's never been to the Vatican in Rome. She has been a good Catholic all her life, but she just never had the finances to go to the Vatican and see the Pope and go through St. Peter's and look at all the artifacts and whatever. And you just want to see the look in her eyes when you give her that ticket. Mom, guess what? You're coming with me to Rome, and we're going to go see the Pope. Here is a ticket to Rome. You and I are going to spend 2 weeks there. And then while we're there, we're going to visit all these other places. But you and me, Mom. And you can't wait to see the look in her eyes as the tears come streaming down her face, something that she's always thought about and dreamed about, but never had the money to be able to do. And you just blew her away before she goes, before God takes her. You had a chance to just give her something that she's always wanted but never thought she could have. And you just totally surprised her. Is that the why that makes you cry? Because when things get tough or you get hit with the lazies, you think about that, and then you think, you know what, I'm dialing. Because my schedule says I'm going to dial. I'm not going to take tonight off. I'm going to dial. Or when you've got no-showed 3-4 times in a row, and you're at the end of your rope and you're thinking, God, this business sucks, man. The why that makes you cry. I love my children. Like this happened to me. I had a week where, it was like early on in the business, my first year in the business, and I had a week where I had like no-showed. That evening was all no-shows. And I knew I was getting a chargeback. So I knew that if I didn't close anything and got it issued quick, that we were going to have a zero income week, which just sucked on my personal production. And it was like, I was driving back from Cincinnati and I was depressed. I was like, man, I've failed my family. And I parked my car outside my house and I just sat on it and I screamed at God. I screamed till my voice got hoarse, like, why, God, did you do this to me? Why did you put me in this position? Are you just messing with me? Is you just fooling me to think that I could do this? Were you like I just shouted it out. I just screamed at God because I just had nowhere else for my emotion to take me. I was just so angry and so like I just felt like everything was going wrong. And was I really meant for this? God, why did you even get me into this to make me fail? I mean, are you really the God I thought you were? I was having all these crazy thoughts, and by the way, we're human, okay? And I was crying my eyes out. And it was the worst time in this business for me ever. And so I finally calmed down, and this was when my kids were young. Like when we got in this business, my daughter Zoe was 3.5. I think Athen was like 2, and Maddie was like 1 year old. Like 3 kids, 3.5 and under, right? And so I unlocked the door, and I'm just sitting there going, man, I'm a failure to my family. I'm a failure as a husband to provide for my wife. I'm a failure to my children. I was just all this crazy stuff going in my head, I don't know that God loves me. Why would he fool me into getting this business? I know he loves me, but man, it's just, I'm not feeling the love, man. And then, so I walk upstairs. I was walking by my kids, and all 3 of my kids were sleeping in we call it the nursery. It's they're all in the same room because we wanted them to kind of sleep together and just grow up together, And it was kind of the nursery for the kids. And so I opened the door just to peek in and to watch them sleeping and breathing and watching them just, how as a parent you just want to make sure they're breathing and just watching them sleep. And they're just like little angels. I mean, you know how you are. If you're a parent, you know what it's like walking into the room and looking at them sleeping. And they just look like angels, and they are so innocent. And in my mind, I was thinking, wow, these are my children. God put them in my care to take care of them. How would my kids look at me later for me to look like a loser because I couldn't get through the hard stuff? What would I be teaching my children if I wimped out and whimpered and failed by just quitting and giving up? What kind of father would I be to give up on what I was doing to feed my family and to support my family? And I thought long and hard. I looked at him. It's like, this is why I'm doing this thing. I'm doing it for these children that I love and my wife in the next room sleeping. I'm doing it for my family. The why that makes me cry is seeing my kids happy, productive, doing something that I'm showing them an example of someone chasing a dream and goal and giving them an example of someone getting through the tough stuff. I'm doing it for my children. And I was just bawling, thinking how much I love my kids. How can I show them weakness? How can I show them, someone who's going to give up on a dream, give up on, on them. I was giving up on them. And it's like how much I love my kids. I'd do anything for my children. I looked at it, I'd do anything for them. I'd die for them. And then as soon as I thought I would die for them, I was thinking, this is when I started really crying. If I love my children like this, how much does my Heavenly Father love me, that he was going to give me his son and let his son die for me and my sins? If I love my children this much, how much more does my God love me? My God wouldn't put me in something that I couldn't succeed at. My God wouldn't mess with me like that. My God would not put me in something that he wouldn't give me and equip me with the faith and work and the belief that I could do it. Look, I'm his child. I'm a kid of a king. He's the king. I'm his kid. What father would mess with his kid like that? I would not do that to my children. Least of all would God ever do that to me. I figured, you know what? If I love my children this much, my God loves me way more. And if my God loves me way more, he's going to give me the strength and everything I need to make it. And so when I went to bed that night, I was praising, thank you, God, for teaching me that lesson. that you're always there no matter how crazy I get. And you forgave me for yelling at you because you made me realize how much I love my children, how much more you love me. And I can get through anything. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And that's the thought that sustained me. That was the why that made me cry, because he reminded me that if I just live for him and do everything for him, he's going to take care of me and my family. And that's what gets me through the tough stuff, the why that makes me cry. See, because that's why you need your whys when things get tough. When you're operating on this calendar habit, you're going to get whatever you want. But ultimately, being congruent with what you care about and what you value with what you do. And then when things get tough, or when you get hit with the lazies, you think about the why that makes you cry, you're going to be all right, man. I promise you, you're going to be all right. So I hope this helped everybody. And I'm 2 minutes over, so I apologize. I hope it made sense. Anyway, thanks, everybody. I'm glad you plugged in, and take care. God bless. See you. Bye.